Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to this session on how to be productive on Java EE and HTML5 development. So my name is Xavier Coulon, and as you probably guessed from my accent, I'm French. I joined Red Hat 3.5 years ago, and since then I've been working on JBoss Tools and Developer Studio projects. I've been working mainly on JAX-RS tooling, OpenShift tooling. I did work on the website as well. Work on LiveReload and work on Docker tooling, which I will show you today. So before starting with the demo, I'm going to talk briefly about what JBoss Tools and Developer Studio are. So JBoss Tools is a set of plugins for Eclipse, for JBoss technology. So we provide you with tooling for web services, servers, if you want to deploy your application on JBoss or Wildfly or EAP. We provide you tooling for JPA with Hibernate tools, Coulon, Forge, JAX-RS, HTML5 and AngularJS as well. Maven, we have some tooling, like not really tooling, but JBoss Central, which I will show you just after. And we also have, so this is JBoss Tools core, and then we have JBoss Tools integration stack, which is about integration tools like BRMS, Camel, etc. So I'm not going to cover everything, but I'm going to try to show you a few things today. So this is JBoss Tools, and then Developer Studio, basically it's the same thing. We take all these plugins. So JBoss Tools, you have your own Eclipse, and you go to the update site, and you choose the plugins you want to install, and then you install on your Eclipse. Then we take everything together. We take Eclipse with all the plugins we need to run our own plugins on top of them. And we package everything together, and you get an installer, which is a multi-platform installer. So it works on Linux, Windows, Mac. And this is like a big jar file, and you can install everything and get everything ready and set up for you in a few minutes. So there's even a version where you can have JBoss EAP 6.4 with it. So what I'm going to show you today, as I promised in the abstract for this talk, there will be no slides, or almost no slides. So I'm going to go to Developer Studio. What I'm going to show you is a demo with Developer Studio 9.0.0.beta 1, which should be released today. So, okay, here we are. We have this page here, this view, welcome to JBoss, which is JBoss Central. So before it was something written with SWT, which is a toolkit for UI in Eclipse. So now it's something in HTML5. And so you have this kind of carousel where you can see the few the latest news from jboss.org. And you also have this search field here, which allows you to type something. So let's say you want to start playing with some technology like JAX-RS. So you type JAX-RS. And we have this search engine bundle in Eclipse, and we get you results for code examples, project examples, and quick starts, which allow you to install sample projects. So you can get started with them very quickly if you want to play with them. So we have something else as well. We have this software update tab here, where you can download third-party plugins, some things that we don't make ourselves, but we provide you a mirror to download them. And we also have this early access checkbox here, so you can install experimental toolings, such as Coulon and Angular, which are already installed before. Okay, so this is JBoss Central. We're not going to use it today. I'm going to show you a few things, and what I'm going to show you is not the only way to get to the results, but I'm going to try to show you a few things, and maybe sometimes you can take a different choice to get to the same results, but I want to show you as many things as possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to start a new Maven project here. So I can do this, and here I'm going to say that I want to use Wildfly, and I'm going to take Wildfly web app blank archetype. And I'm going to change this here. I'm going to call it Acme conference schedule, because I forgot to tell what I'm going to build as an application. So let me just finish this, and I will explain after. Okay, conference. Yes? Okay, that's a good question. Let me try this. Sorry? I think I can, but that's something I never do, and I. Okay, let me try something else. Fonts. Okay, editor, edit. Okay, let's try something like this. Let's try. Sorry. Okay, so this is tiny, but hopefully code will be visible. So, okay. Before I carry on with this project, what I want to build today is we are going to start from an existing database. It will be a Postgre database. And actually, as you can see here, it's a Postgre on Docker. So it's running on the Docker container. It has a few tables. So let me connect to it. So I use this Data Source Explorer view here, which is going to be helpful just in a few minutes. So I'm connecting to this Postgre database, and so I have a schema, public schema, and I have a few tables: conference, session, speaker, and session speaker. So it's basically the idea is we have a very, very simple model. We have a conference. A conference can have multiple sessions. A session can have multiple speakers, and speakers can go to multiple sessions. So we have relationships between these tables, which will be entities just afterwards. One to many, many to many. Okay, so we start from this existing database. Now let's go back to this project here. So I took Maven archetype, and I start with this project conference. So what we have here, we have this pom.xml file. So Eclipse comes with tooling for Maven so it's a plugin named M2E. And it's on eclipse.org. As part of this project, M2E project, there is a sub-project called M2E WTP. So M2E WTP is a project led by Fred, a guy from our team. And the idea is to make a bridge between Maven and web tools, which is Eclipse tooling. So you can have both together, and you can have a Maven project, which will be packaged as a WAR file or as an EAR file, and which you can deploy on your application server. As part of M2E WTP, there are also a collection of connectors which are going to scan your class path. As soon as you make a change in your class path using Maven, these connectors are going to look at some specific classes in your class path. And if they find some specific classes, they are going to add some facets to your project. So basically, your project is going to be configured as you include some dependencies. So we have this pom.xml file here. We have a few dependencies that have already been set up for us. We have this dependency management using BOM files, which are provided by JBoss. So it's like if you want to use Java EE 7 APIs, this is like a big dependency management file which allows you to just pick the dependencies you want to use. And we have these dependencies in our project. So we have CDI, JAX-RS, Hibernate, JPA somewhere. Yeah, JPA here. So since we have these dependencies, M2E WTP extensions are going to configure our project. So if we go to properties here, we can see in project facets that we already have support for CDI. We have support for JAX-RS, and we have support for JPA. Okay, cool. So what I'm trying to say here is that with all this M2E, M2E WTP tooling, you don't have to configure your project. It's going to be configured for you. So you don't waste time on this. And as a benefit, you will get some extra tooling for content assist, validation, navigation, and so on and so forth. Okay. So let's switch to Hibernate perspective here. So we have this, since we have JPA tooling support on the project, we have this conference configuration here. And it doesn't work. It should fail later, not now. why? Okay. Okay, let's carry on. Let's try to carry on. So we cannot, it doesn't work. So what we're going to do, we go here and use this connection. So we had previously, I've shown you before in the Data Explorer view, we had a connection to our database. And so we are going to use this connection here. And if I go back here and refresh, oh, it's working. Cool. So what I always had before when I repeated this demo is at this level, at this database level, there would be a failure because what we have in our project here, we have this, in this persistence.xml file. Okay, so definitely, can you read it or should I try to increase fonts again? Editor. Is it better? Oh, yes. Okay, so we have this JTA data source here, which is obviously something that Eclipse doesn't know about, okay? It's not able to connect to something like this. That's something that works at runtime when you deploy on a server, so Eclipse doesn't know about it. But since we connected this project with a connection data source from this data source explorer, now Eclipse knows how to connect this project and this data source. So what we can do, we can go here and do something like JPA tools, generate entities from tables. So I'm going to select to give a package. Let me do something like com.acme.conference schedule.domain. So we are going to use this conference console configuration, finish. And now we have entities here. Cool. Oh, and this is good size as well. Okay. So we have this conference class, and as I said before, in our table, on our database, we had this model, logical model, where we had a conference, sessions, and sessions as speakers. So as you can expect, we get something like sessions here, which is a one-to-many relationship. This is exactly what we wanted to, because Hibernate Tools was able to see foreign keys between tables, between columns and tables. It was able to follow these foreign keys and navigate through tables. So we have this session, get sessions, which leads to a session class, which has itself get speakers method, which is a many-to-many relationship with speakers, and it's with this join table. Okay, so Hibernate Tools worked for us, and that's very cool. So we now have now we have our database and JPA entities on top of it. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we are going to make some JAX-RS endpoints out of these entities. So we have two ways of building, generating some classes for this. First thing is we have JAX-RS wizards, which I'm going to show. So it's if you select an entity or class here, you can do JAX-RS resource. And okay, I'm sorry for the font. I don't know how I can increase everything, not just the editor. So we have this target entity which has been selected for us, conference. And so the wizard is going to suggest a name, which will be conference endpoint, some media types. And we can select the method stubs that we want to have for this class. So this is JAX-RS tooling, and JAX-RS tooling knows about your project and knows about how your project is built. So you're going to ask for JAX-RS endpoints, or JAX-RS resources, if you like. But the wizard or the JAX-RS tooling knows that you don't have a JAX-RS activator yet. So JAX-RS activator should be is required if you want JAX-RS to work on your project. It can be something. It can be configured in two fashions. First one is a subclass of JAX-RS, jax.ws.rs.core.application. And then you just need to put an annotation on top of this class, something at application path. Or it can be something defined in your, it can be defined in your web.xml deployment descriptor. So it will be just a servlet mapping entry. Or you may decide to skip this thing because you may not want to use something like Java EE 7 standard, but some other implementation for your project. And this implementation would have its own servlet dispatcher. So you can skip this. OK, we are not going to use this because it's just going to generate some stubs. And I want to go a bit faster. So I'm going to use something else. I'm going to use Forge for this. So what I'm doing here, I'm doing Command 4, or maybe Control 4 on Windows machines. So it's going to start Forge in background. So it's going to be Forge 2. Previously, we had support for Forge 1, which was working only on from command line. So you had from the console, you had to type console, you had content assist, and you had a link with the navigator. Now we have, since Forge 2, we have a set of wizards. So you don't even have to type commands. You just need to select the action you want to do. It's going to pop up a wizard for you. So what I'm going to call here, I'm going to say that I want to do something like REST, and I want to generate endpoints from entities. So we have this wizard coming here. Well, it should be JAX-RS 2, actually, because we have JAX-RS 2 API in our project. And again, Forge is going to ask to suggest a way to configure JAX-RS activator. So we're going to use application subclass. And actually, the package is made of two things. Here, this is the group ID of our Maven project, the group ID. And then REST is the subpackage. So let's keep this. And here, we are going to select all three entities that we want to use for JAX-RS endpoints. And we have two ways to generate these REST endpoints. So the first one, the default one, would be we take conference, or we take JPA entities and we expose them as resources for the browser. The second one is using DTOs. And this is what we are going to use. Because if you remember what we had in the code, we had something like conference.getSession and sessions. OK, I forgot to show this to you. But from session, you can go back to conference. So if you get a conference which has some sessions and you want to serialize this thing in XML or JSON, you're going to take your session. No, you're starting from conference. You serialize your conference attributes, then your session. And in your session, you say, oh, I have a conference. OK, so you're looping back to conference. And you're going to loop until you get a Stack Overflow error. So we're not going to do this. And using this strategy with DTO, we are going to break this loop. And we'll have a conference with just some IDs for the sessions. And then it's up to the client to make this, the URLs to navigate to the sessions. So it's not really RESTful, fully RESTful, but it's JAX-RS. OK? And we can finish. So Forge is going to generate this code. And OK. And so we have our endpoints here. And yes, OK, it's here. So we have this JAX-RS Web Services node here, which is now filled with all endpoints, resource methods that we have in our project. So we can see everything, every endpoint that we have with HTTP methods, post, put, get, delete, etc. And what are the URLs or URL templates if you have something like pass parameter. If you double click on it, you can go straight to navigate to the methods that implements this thing. And from here, you have some stuff like content assist. So this is very tiny, but you can see that we have ID here, which matches the ID in the @pass annotation somewhere here. We also have validation. So we have here we have two types of problems. We have an error on IDE because ID is not defined, so it will be an error. And we have a warning here because ID is not used, which is just, it's OK for JAX-RS implementation. You don't need to specify, you don't need to use this ID in your method signature, but if you try to use something that doesn't exist, it's going to fail. So let me just fix that. OK. So what I'm going to do now, we have this, we are going to carry on with JAX-RS and CDI tooling from this code that has been generated by Forge. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use JAX-RS 2 APIs, and I'm going to make an interceptor to log requests and responses. So I'm going to create a new class. So there is no specific wizard for this. It's going to be a logging interceptor. And it's going to implement two interfaces, which will be reader interceptor and writer interceptor. OK. So I'm not going to make live coding now. I'm just going to use some template. Template. And I'm going to, so I get this code, which is basically we're taking request input stream, logging it, making a new input stream, and pass it to the endpoint. And on the response, we get the output stream. Or no, we gave a fake output stream, which was filled. We log it on the console, and we make a new output stream, which is returned to the client. And so we can intercept requests and responses. So I forgot to add a few dependencies because I need SLF4j. So I'm going to use this now. SLF4j. OK, and I think I have servlet API already. OK. So I should be able to fix all errors in the I think it didn't take. OK. Maven update project. OK, so what do I have? Maven. OK, SLF4j is here, so I can. OK, let me do it again. Input stream, output stream, logger. OK, so we don't have any error left in this code. Perfect. But we have two warnings, which sadly you cannot see them. I think the color is not good, but on logging interceptor, we have a warning here because JAX-RS tooling, again, notice that this class is an interceptor. It's a reader interceptor or writer interceptor. It works in both cases. But we didn't provide any OK, maybe I can show it here. No, not problems. Oh. Let me just try to configure content, error and warnings and projects. OK, never mind. OK, so we have an issue here because so logging interceptor is implements this reader interceptor and writer interceptor interfaces, but it has no @provider annotation. So we are going to fix it, fix this. So if it's not annotated, it's not going to be discovered by JAX-RS runtime at runtime. So it's not going to be used. So we need to annotate it. So @provider. And it's almost invisible, but the warning disappeared. Now we have a second warning here on the @inject annotation, because we try to inject something that has no producer, no CDI producer. Okay, so I'm going to make a producer for this. So I'm going to make a package service, okay. And here I'm going to make a new class. It's going to be logger producer. So I'm going to annotate it with at application scope. Yes, this one. And I'm going to use this code here. Very basic, but at least I don't have to type it. Okay. And so now, on the logger interceptor, that should have disappeared. Produces. Oh, okay. So a good demo is a demo that has some failure, I think. Otherwise, it's not. It's boring. Okay. That's supposed to work. Anyway, let's carry on. Okay, so we have this producer. No, sorry. We have this interceptor here. Now we need to bind it. We need to bind it to the endpoint that we want to use. We want to log it. Okay. So I'm going to make a new class. It will be a new annotation. So it will be something like logging. Okay, and what I need to do is to be available as a binding annotation, it must be annotated with name binding. Okay, so now JAX-RS tooling again sees that this is an annotation annotated with @name binding, but there are some errors because we need to specify a target and a retention. So I'm going to fix this. So target will be should work. Type and method. Okay. Okay, and so we have a second error because we should have retention with runtime policy. So let's make it. Let's see if okay. Retention policy. Runtime. Okay, so this logging annotation is now available. And what we can do, we can go back to this interceptor and say that we want to use as a binding. We want to bind it. So we use this name binding, logger. Logging. I think I have no log today. Oh, okay. So that's the error I was expecting, actually. So we have this logging notation that has been set for us, but now we need to put it on an endpoint to actually use it. So I'm going to put it on a conference endpoint here, and logging. And now all errors should be gone. If I come back to the interceptor here, it's not gone. It's like errors aren't. Okay. Okay. So this was REST, JAX-RS, and CDI. So now what we want to do, so we have our database, JAX-RS endpoints with entities. We are going to use Forge again and scaffold the UI. So again, I select my project here, Command 4, and go to call the scaffold generate command, which is going to use Angular. We are going to use AngularJS. We could do something like faces, Java server faces as well. We'll use AngularJS. It should be CDI 1. And we are going to generate code for all our entities. Okay. So now, let me just collapse this thing. Okay, so we have all this code that has been generated for us, some application, and okay, some script, some AngularJS scripts and views, etc., etc. So what we want to do now is deploy on the server and see what the result is. Okay. So as I said before, we have our database running on Docker. So what we want to do, we could use Wildfly, install Wildfly on the machine, and connect it to this Postgre database. But Wildfly has no driver for Postgre by default, so you need to customize your Wildfly server. So what we can do instead is use Docker and build an image with all these things set up, and then we just need to run this image as a container and with some linking to this database container, and so we will have two containers linked together, and we can deploy our application on the Wildfly container. So this is what I'm going to show you. So we have tooling for Docker now. Actually, so tooling for Docker is something that has been developed by people from Red Hat, from Eclipse team based in Toronto, and me as part of JBoss tools team. So we ship Docker tooling with JBoss tools, but it's an Eclipse project. It's part of the Linux tools project, but it's not tied to Linux. It works on any platform. So this is what I'm going to show you now. So we have this new Docker Explorer view here. We also have a Docker perspective. And so this Docker Explorer view provides you with a wizard to connect to Docker. So as part of the tooling, we don't provide you anything with regard to installing Docker on your machine. So if you're on Linux, you need to install Docker Engine. If you're on Windows or Mac, you need to install probably boot to Docker, which is what I have now on my machine, or maybe Docker machine if you want to kick machines with VirtualBox. So this wizard is going to try to detect some Docker connection settings for you. So if you're running on Linux, you'll probably have a Unix socket at some specific path to connect to the Docker engine. So it's going to find it and use it. Otherwise, it's going to try to find some environment variables that Eclipse has when it was launched. If you launched it from command line, for example, or it's going to start a process in background and kick a small shell in background and try to find some environment variables. So if everything is set up in your shell init file, it's going to work. If nothing works, then you can check this use custom connection settings and specify everything by hand. Okay. So this works for me, and I have a connection that has been found. And actually, since it has been found, we could get some info and get the name of this connection, which is boot to Docker. That's the default name when you have boot to Docker. Okay. So we have this Docker view here, and let me just increase the size. And so I can see that I have some containers running. I have like Postgre, which is what I'm using, Mongo, because I also play with Mongo from time to time. And I have a couple of images already downloaded from on my machine. So let me go to, no, it's not cool. let me show you the overviews that we have for Docker. So actually, we have two overviews. We have Docker containers and Docker images, which provide you basically with the same content, but instead of having a tree, if you have a lot of images or a lot of containers, you may prefer this kind of view, which is a table-based view. We have some filters, such fields here. If you look for Postgre, for example, it's going to match everything which contains Postgre. And actually, you have this boot to Docker label at the top. And we have 14 images here out of 205 because we hide all intermediate images, which is probably not what you want to use anyway. So we don't pollute you with this kind of result. But if you want to see everything, you can see everything, okay? So I'm not going to show everything. And in the same fashion, we have Docker containers view, which is the same kind of view with a table, and which allows you to show you all, lets you view all containers, so stopped and running and paused containers. If you don't show everything, you just see running and paused containers, not stopped containers. So this is basically what you get with the Docker command line, Docker PS and Docker PS-A command line. Okay, so let me just close these views. And actually, I'm going to show another project that I have in my here. I'm going to open this one. Okay, so I have this project here, which has several folders, including one which has this Docker file. So this is a tiny sample of tiny Docker file, sorry. So the cool thing about Docker, if you know Docker, you know it. But if you don't, the cool thing about Docker is that you have images, and you can start from an existing image and add some specific behavior, libraries, environment variables, and so on and so forth, expose ports from an existing image, and so you can make your own image, but you don't have to start from scratch again. You can just take something good and make something even better on top of it. So that's what I'm doing, well, at least for my development. So I'm starting from this official JBoss Wildfly 8.2.0 final image. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm creating Postgre module. I'm going to include this module.xml file, which is in my workspace. And I'm going to customize the standalone.xml file using my own version, which is here, standalone.xml, in which I just create a new data source, which is this one, Postgre SQLDS. So by the way, I'm going to change something in my project before I forget. Because this project comes with a custom database here, which I don't want to use. And I'm going to say, when I'm going to deploy my project, I will want to use this data source that has been configured in the standalone.xml file. So I'm going to replace this conference.ds with Postgres SQLDS. Okay, so this was just an apartheid. So let's go back to this Docker file. So I have this Docker file, and what I can do is run as and say build image. And this is going to build an image for me. And I'm going to name it, actually I'm going to replace the one I have here. So it's going to be Coulon, Wildfly dash Postgres. Okay. And okay, I can run it. And okay, so that's it. I made a new image, or well, actually it's the same. I didn't make any new thing, but yeah, the idea is you can use this run as wizard to build a Docker image from your from an existing Docker file in your class in your project. You don't have to use command lines. We kick a build for you. So what I've shown you, this wizard is not part of Docker tooling yet, and it's a prototype, and it's actually probably going to change in shape, and maybe it will be something that you will have here in your. It's just a shortcut, a launch shortcut, and it will be probably something like a real launcher. So you can, once you kick your first build, you can go in this launcher and find it and run it again and again as many times as you need. Okay, so we have our Wildfly Postgre image with Wildfly driver. So what we can do now is run this image. So we have this wizard here, which may change in the future, but basically the idea is this. You select an image and you say, okay, I want to run it. So I can specify a name for my container. This is not mandatory, but I like to give it a proper name because I want to find it quickly in the list next. So it's going to be wildfly-demo. So what you can do, by default, we suggest that you can expose all ports for your container, but with no specific host port. Okay, so you can accept this kind of thing. So it's pretty convenient if you don't want to have a collision, something like a port is already used by another machine, another container, or server, or another tool. So this avoids collision. But here we're just going to say, okay, let's use port 8080 and 9990, which are the same ports as we have on the container. Next, we are going to connect this Wildfly container to a Postgre container. So we are going to select this here, Postgre, and we are going to use Postgre as the alias. And actually, I will show you why. Okay, you have to be very careful about the alias you use, and I will show you why just after. And next here, what we are going to do is this. We are going to say that we want what I didn't mention here. We have this volume directive, which says, okay, this is a volume in my container. And now what I'm going to do with the wizard is say, okay, we have this volume, and I'm going to bind it to some directory on my machine, on my host. So it's not going to be just inside the container. It's going to be on my host as well. So I'm going to select a directory. It will be like this one, Wildfly deployments. And then I can say finish. Okay, and so my container should be starting. Okay, so Wildfly started in a container. So let me just go back to why we took Postgre as an alias for this. If we go back to standalone.xml here, we have some environment variables like Postgre _ port, etc., etc. Postgre port, TCP address, Postgre environment, Postgre username, Postgre password. All these environment variables are provided by Docker when we link containers together, which means Postgre containers has some environment variables, such as username and password, which Wildfly containers doesn't really know about, okay? But they're going to be exposed, they're going to be transferred into the Wildfly container. And in the same way, since we link containers together, Docker is going to make new environment variables based on the alias that we specified, Postgre, and then it's going to use some suffix like port port 5432. I can count in reverse order as well. Okay, 5432, and TCP address and TCP port. So these are things that will be provided by Docker, and so with this Wildfly standalone.xml running on Docker, environment variables will be provided, and Wildfly is going to be able to connect. But it's going to be able to connect without even knowing which was a username, password, etc. Okay, so it's pretty cool. Actually, what I can show you, that's not part of the tooling. can you, oh, maybe you can see, okay. Okay, so I have this, I can run a command on the existing Wildfly container. So I'm going to execute a command which will be, so on Wildfly demo, I'm going to call the env command. And so you see here we have all these environment variables that I talked about just a few minutes ago, including, you see Postgre port 5432 TCP port, TCP address, and username and password. So this is what is provided in my Wildfly container. Okay, back to JBoss tools or Dev Studio. Okay, so we have our Wildfly container, and it's running linked to this Postgre container, and we have this volume which is mounted on a directory on my host, on my machine. So now we are going to deploy our application. So I'm going to create a new server. Actually, it's not server, it's a server adapter. So it's adapting, it's like controlling or managing a server running somewhere. So it can be a local server or a remote server. And it's used to manage server life cycles. So if it's a local server like Wildfly installed on your machine or EAP, it's able to start it, stop it, restart it, and it's able to deploy your application as well, or redeploy your application if you make some changes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select Wildfly 8. I have a runtime already existing. I'm not going to deploy anything yet. Okay, so there are a few changes that we need to make on the default settings. This is something that Rob Stryker made, and he's the guy responsible for these server adapters, and he blogged about it a few weeks ago on our website on how to deploy on Docker using server tooling. So this is what I'm showing you now. So first thing is we need to check this box to say that server lifecycle is externally managed. Actually, we are not going to control the server. You are not going to start it or stop it from this server adapter. It's managed by Docker, so we don't care about it. And in the deployment tab here, we say that we want to use custom deploy folders. And we are going to change these folders, as you can expect, and we are going to use this Wildfly deployment folder. Okay, so this is the kind of change you can do if you don't have any application deployed or attached to managed by the server. So now that this is done, what we can do is just click on Start. Actually, it's not going to start the server because we said it's externally managed, but just clicking on this Start button, the server adapter here in Eclipse is going to connect to the existing server running in Docker. It's going to ping it and say, okay, you're running, so we can talk together now. And what we can do is this. We can say, okay, we are going to deploy, so I just dropped my application here, and we are going to deploy it on the server. So actually what's going to happen, if everything goes well, and it looks like it's okay. So what happened is server adapter said, okay, I'm going to deploy this application in this Wildfly-deployments folder that I showed before. And actually it's a volume for Docker container, and Docker is Wildfly, which is running on this in this container, is going to see changes in this directory, and it's going to pick the changes and deploy. Okay, so it's like Docker Wildfly running in Docker, seeing something in the host directory, and this host directory is filled, managed, or provisioned by Eclipse. Okay, so let's have a look. Do we have anything? Okay, so let's show this application. Not found. What did I say about failures in demo? Okay. So let's just make a full publish. Okay, this time it should be deployed. Why is it not working? Okay. Okay, let's try again. This is very disappointing. Okay, full publish. Okay, let me check my config before. Postgre. Oh, this is, well, it should have been updated. I think I lost all my data, but it's not so bad. True, okay. Let's do a full publish. Using direct. Stopped. So oh, this is very sad because I wanted to show you something else, but if I have a not found, it's not going to work. Okay. What? I think I'm not lucky with demo. What do I have? Okay. Let's forget about this. Let's just say it didn't work because of network for some reason. I don't know. Let's do something else so I can show you LiveReload. Okay, so I'm going to create a new server. It's going to be a real server this time. Not real, but default server running on my machine. So if I go here, it's going to be this one, and I'm going to make this. It's going to be example.ds. So this is the default data source. Let me just check this. Okay, example.ds. Okay. And so let me try to deploy this application on just, so it will not be what I wanted to show you, but at least we may be able to carry on. Let me just stop this container. Okay, it stopped. So I can, because I think it was, oh, did I have something running before? Ah. Okay, so it may work with Wildfly. So let's give it another try. So let me start again my container. And full publish. Oh, why is it? Oh no, it's not. Okay, I'm just. This is good. Okay, let me just go back to Chrome. This is not good. Okay. Another mistake. I'm sorry about that, really. Let's just do this. So this one, I'm going to remove it because it's just annoying. So I'm going to mark it as, should be in state starting, but full publish. So it's using Postgre now. Okay, definitely I have no luck with this. So let's switch back to this one. Okay, let me just create a new server quickly. Wildfly, localhost, conference, finish. Docker here, I'm going to stop it so I don't have any conflict on ports. Looks good. And go back here to server and let's start it. Okay, this is something else. Okay, do we have an application here? Oh, okay, we have some application. Okay, so we are running a bit out of time because of these failures, and I'm sorry about this, really. I wanted to have something working. It worked many times before, but of course, day of presentation, it fails. So the last thing I want to show is LiveReload. So what we can do is something like live reloading. So if you make some, we have support for LiveReload, and I'm going to maybe, yeah, I have like 2 minutes to show something. So LiveReload, basically what we do is we are not going to go through port 8080, but through another port. And inside Eclipse, we have a LiveReload server which is running, which is going to be like a proxy. So I'm going to go back to the slides actually, and because it will be the end. So this is how LiveReload works usually. If you have something like if you use Ruby tools, you have Guard, and Guard as a plugin for LiveReload. So basically, Guard would be monitoring your disk, and if you have some change, you have your browser with a LiveReload extension, which has a WebSocket connection with a LiveReload script, JavaScript running in your browser. It has a WebSocket connection to the LiveReload server. And as soon as something changes on your disk, LiveReload server is going to use this WebSocket connection and send a message to your browser saying you need to refresh your page. So the idea is you make some changes, you save your file, and your browser is going to pick your change. So this is what we do in Dev Studio and JBoss tools. We do the same thing. We have our own implementation of LiveReload server, which is based on Jetty. And so we have this WebSocket connection as well. We can monitor something on your disk if you make some changes. If you're working on static files like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and you make some changes, it's going to be refreshed. So you don't need to go to your browser and click on refresh again. So you save a bit of going through, back and through. But what we do as well is we support application servers. So instead of just monitoring a disk, if you publish your content, some content on your application server, Eclipse is going to, LiveReload tooling is going to notify your browser as well. So it works in both modes, static files and applications deployed. And we will not go back to the IDE, actually. We have another mode as well, which is we provide you with, since we don't, you don't need to install this LiveReload extension in your browser, because we are going to provide the script, which is exactly what the extension does. The benefit of this is that you can even test it on your mobile device, because you couldn't install some extension in your Safari or Chrome browser on your smartphone. But since we provide this script, you can test it on your real device. And basically what you do, and it worked. I tested before, but we don't have time. It's like you change something and it's going to be refreshed on your browser, on your device. So you can even have multiple devices like Android, iPhone, iPad, and whatever, and it's going to be refreshed automatically. So it's pretty convenient. So I think it's really time to wrap up. So what I've shown you today was JPL reverse engineering, Forge integration, JAX-RS, CDI tooling, Docker tooling, servers, LiveReload. I not really showed you, but I can show you later if you like. If you want to get in touch, we have a website. We are on Twitter. We're on IRC. We have a mailing list as well. So if you have any question, any feature request, just ping us or just come and see me after the talk. We have this community acceptance testing program where we ask users to download beta versions of the tooling, so you can try it and report some bugs or some missing features and some things we may not have seen before. Just very quickly, there are two related talks to Forge, one on Wednesday and one on Thursday. With George and Lincoln, who worked on Forge together. There is one unrelated talk, nothing at all with what I've shown you today. Is what I'm showing on Thursday. It's using Lambda expressions to query a data store, which will be MongoDB. So thank you very much. Sorry for the failures during the demo. And thanks. If you have any question, I will be available after the talk.